Chileans will head to the ballot box on Sunday to elect a new president. For the first time since 2012, voting will be mandatory. Those who do not vote face a fine. Chile's governing leftist coalition is up against an array of right-wing challengers at a time when concerns over immigration and crime are at the top of voters' minds.
Luis caught a group of criminals red-handed as they were trying to rob his house.
I came in and found everything turned upside down. I yelled, "What are you doing here?" The guys escaped through the window. There was a car waiting outside.
Luis lives in La Serena, some 500 kilometers north of Santiago. He managed to foil the burglary, and he was not physically harmed, but it left him with a worrying feeling of insecurity.
It's more than a feeling, it's a fact that there's a lack of security for the population. People lock themselves away, there's no community life, and that's had a very negative effect on the quality of life.
Chile is often seen as one of the safest countries in the region, but the perception of a lack of public safety has increased as international criminal gangs have moved in. These include the infamous Tren de Aragua organization from Venezuela. Previously almost unknown in Chile, crimes like extortion and kidnapping are spreading. More than a third of such cases are linked to organized crime. Public safety has been at the center of this year's presidential election campaign. 8 candidates are competing in the first round. Polls show the most likely ones to get through to the second round are the Communist Party's Ginette Jara, who represents the centre-left, and right-wing candidates, including far-right contenders José Antonio Cast and Johannes Kaiser. Evelyn Matei is running for the traditional right-wing party, the Independent Democratic Union, or UDI. Another major issue is the economy and especially unemployment. Constanza Palma graduated from one of Chile's most prestigious universities in 2023 with a degree in journalism. Since then, she's struggled to find a job.
I have been looking for almost 2 years. The experience has been quite frustrating. It is a very difficult process.
The unemployment rate reached 8.5% during the third quarter of this year. The figure is higher among women and young people like Constanza.
Our economy has been growing, but at a low rate. The projected rate is 2.5%, very low compared to the 90s when it was around 7%. That affects employment. We're still not back to pre-pandemic levels.
Unemployment, low economic growth, and the pension system are voters' main concerns. Unlike the previous polls, voting in this election is mandatory.
When people who don't usually vote are forced to do so, like in this election, they often express their anger at the ballot box. People don't express that anger by electing the person currently in power or the one who's been a traditional politician for the last 30 years. Generally, they look for the most disruptive options.
The nearly 5 million first-time voters could tip the balance in the presidential elections this Sunday, and in the likely second round in December.
DW correspondent Jacinta Molina is following the elections for us in Santiago de Chile. Jacinta, we just heard voting in Chile is now mandatory. How much could that change the outcome of this election?
Good evening. Yes, compulsory voting will be decisive in this election. It's not clear in whose favor. Between 5 to 6 million of additional people could vote in this election, and some experts believe this could favor more anti-establishment options, such as the far right. This is because most of them, the new voters, are first-time young voters and also people that don't like politics. It's also, I also would like to mention that that could also increase the number of blank or spoil ballots, according to the same experts, and this will be very important in a runoff scenario. Now, this is the first presidential election with automatic registration in Chile and compulsory voting, and that means that it's very likely that the winner of this process will become the most voted candidate in the history of Chile. I would also like to point out the fact that in Chile, migrants can vote. They represent 5.6% of the electorate. It's not clear the impact this group may have, but also some analysts highlight the fact that most of them are from Venezuela. They tend to reject options from left-wing parties, and this could also favor the right-wing.
Now, you said that the mandatory voting could favor non-establishment politicians, but the last polls showed an establishment candidate, one from the Communist Party, in the lead, Jeanette Jara. Tell us more about her.
Yeah, she has been leading the polls since she won the primary in June, the left primary. By then, she made history becoming the first communist to represent a center-left coalition of parties in this presidential race, although lately she has been trying to distance herself from her party and also from the government. She served as labor minister under current President Gabriel Boric government. There she pushed through important reforms, some of them like the pension reform, which is something she highlights during her campaign. But it is true that she's the favorite according to the polls for this first round. But in a likely scenario of a second round, all the polls published before the blackout show that she could lose against the opposition candidates, and among them the far-right candidate José Antonio Caz, who, according to the same polls, is the favorite in this election.
Now, if the right does manage to get control of Chile's presidency and the Congress, it would be the first time that that has happened since the Pinochet dictatorship ended in 1990. What would a shift to the right mean for Chilean society?
It is true, that's a new scenario in Chilean politics, and it represents a major shift in a country that has been shaped in the last 35 years in the dictatorship-democracy divide. This is one of the reasons of this mostly is what was mentioned in the report, the high concern among the population on security and also on crime. This group of voters have seen in more radical proposals an alternative in this campaign. And also there's an important fact that we also will be voting for a new parliament tomorrow in this vote, part of the Senate and also the entire lower house. And it is expected that the right wing performs really well as well in this election. And if both the far right and the right wing get a 4-7 majority quorum, they could even do some changes in the constitution, which will also be very significant in Chile.
We'll have to keep following the story. DW correspondent Jacinta Molina, thank you for your reporting.